My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. This is P.O.C. Just want you to see the U.S. military has been engaged in stalking all night long by helicopter upon my return to the OVITT Family Community Library. This were the homosexuals, their rage regarding the video that I put up on the screen recording regarding the entity monitoring on Facebook. The entity engages in retaliatory conduct of that petty nature. What they're doing right now is, while I power off my phone and power it back on, clear out all my cookies. The entity of the fake sun, that's not going to be anywhere in Upland, California today. That's how you know that the homosexuals of the U.S. military that are being dishonorably and disgracefully discharged, and what is a matter of what is a military tribunal where the military are engaged in what is a clear violation of the whole purpose of the oath that these demons take. They have become a part of the military to engage in terrorism. And this is what the entity is doing while they're maintaining criminal surveillance. And this is the criminal activity that Jason Isaac Fields remains a part of. This is no trusted informant. This is also the substance of what I'm publishing on the internet. Jason Isaac Fields is as threatening as the demons that are. If not, he could very well be the one of the demons that are stalking me in the planes and the helicopters. I just want to be clear. With regard to anyone that's being targeted by the government, by the people of the state, that American citizen that's subject to terrorism remains in a position of what is the right to make sure that a terrorist stays away from them. Jason Isaac Fields is a part of the same entity where I'm still being gang stalked. He will not be under any circumstances in possession of property and he's going to hand it over to me. He's not going to lend me money that I need so I'm rescued from homelessness while he's been gang stalking me to put me in this position this entire time. This is the whole point of what Tracy Banks and this entity planned at the outset. And they're going to prison for it. You're understanding how domestic terrorism is executed in this country that is basically it centers all of its attacks on American citizens based on your ability to provide for yourself. They defame you in order to kidnap and murder you and then blame you for it by stating that you're mentally ill. The entity is engaged in what is a satanic system, and gang stalking is a ongoing ceaseless satanic ritual, and the entity is keeping us under surveillance on this device that I just restarted, and the entity is under the fake sun at what is 8:10 a.m. where this fake sun is still here after 5 p.m. after coming from Rock of Faith. That's a gang stalking church that's engaged in monitoring me, and after 5 p.m. this fake sun is over the same OVITT Family Community Library where this entity is stalking me by planes, doing cartwheels, doing U-turns, hovering over this venue where it is a matter of what is a judicially noticed fact that this is not the natural environment based on the video evidence of targeting me, including in helicopters and planes. And also there are no takeoffs. You're not headed to a destination. You are in this environment where you are targeting, and you're targeting based on an American citizen that's also documenting it. This is directly tied to the entity that is seeking to, and this is for naught because it's going on Facebook. It's all over the internet already. The entity is focused on one website, Facebook. The evidence is going to go on Facebook on top of that, but it's on X, it's going on YouTube, it's going to go on the YouTube post page, and the entity is utilizing helicopter fuel, crawling into a helicopter with regard to monitoring, and they are obsessively consumed with that which is already a moot point. It's on the internet. That's the objective, not just one site. If it's on all other 99 sites and you're just focused on one site, what have you actually accomplished? These are the mentally ill that are gang stalking. These are the mentally ill that are psychopathic and unhinged. These are the mentally ill that were stalking me in planes in Upland, California, where there is no connection to any airport operations here. You're stalking, and it's the same when they're all the way in Upland at 100 East Foothill, where the entity had the fake sun yesterday evening, where it will not be this evening at 6 in the evening. No, it's not going to be there. It's going to be right over me in Ontario. This is the entity that's doing that. This is tied to what is Jason Isaac Fields. Jason Isaac Fields, through this evidence, is still engaging in the pattern of conduct. He is under no circumstances engaging in anything other than ongoing theft, exercising any power or authority over my property, which is a product of theft in the first place. He's a part of the entity. He's a cult member. He's a homosexual, a hostile one that is engaging in what is the pattern of conduct, because now they have learned that they cannot, their tactics don't work on me. And so now you're gang stalking because you don't know what else to do. And you're also already surrounded with what is a federal case. The same entity that is gang stalking is the same one that has prolonged what is criminal activity, not an investigation. Jason Isaac Fields cannot, under the law, and cannot, based on myself being an American citizen, documenting and being subject to his terrorism, he's not coming onto, quote unquote, my side. That doesn't exist. It's not happening. And when someone is reporting a terrorist, and you have the evidence proving that Jason Fields is a terrorist, he is a terrorist. Period. It's not his word against my word. My evidence proves exactly what he is and what he's guilty of and what I'm still subject to. He is still engaging in it. And I'm still being targeted while I even refer to that terrorist in my evidence that is under surveillance. Jason Isaac Fields is a STD-infected terrorist that engaged in what is conspiring my murder. He is still monitoring me. He is still engaged in attacking me while I publish evidence about him. And the fact that he is not only rejected, him and his STD infections would automatically be rejected. Him having sex with my aged grandmother size Tracy Banks, this fake mother of mine, he would be rejected. This is the entity that's mentally ill. You see that plane activity? That's how psychotic Jason Fields is. That's how unstable he is. That image is letting you know this is the entity that's listening and stalking. And that is the prosecution also of all of the entity that's engaging in that. Tracy Banks is going to be committed, and Jason Isaac Fields is not avoiding federal prison. This is an entity that has tried to, through targeting me, suggest as though you're controlling how my case against you while you're targeting me is going to go. Jason Fields is going to prison. He's going to prison. He's going to prison with these homosexuals who have burning genitalias, who are lurking in planes that don't have any passengers on them, who are stalking me based on what it is that I'm documenting in real time. The entity that is obsessively stalking is the entity that is extraordinarily mentally ill, and it includes Jason Fields. Okay? He has numb, infected, inflamed genitalia, and this is from practicing homosexuality with regard to a sex cult, including the people of the state who maintain surveillance for this entity. This is a fat white woman over here gang stalking at the city hall where you just saw a plane shoot up into the air and do a cartwheel at a downward trajectory. She's stalking under the fake sun. Okay? This is the entity that's engaging with a surveillance through a population. The entities engaged in that pattern of conduct, or that could be a fat male that looks very effeminate from here. This is nonetheless a third party. Okay? The entities engaging in this P.O.C. while they're obsessively stalking me, the one that they can't silence, they're also not going to dictate this prosecution. Jason Fields is going to prison. So the government that's gang stalking me is not going to use one of their own terrorists to try to make him now a supposed informant, and that's how he's going to get beside me. That's not going to happen, and it was never going to happen. These are idiots. They're idiots, and they're all a bunch of ignorant homosexuals. Literally. They don't have a tactic. They do not have a strategy. And while you try to combine a strategy with blatant stalking, who is going to trust that homosexual in the first place? Not with anyone that has an iota, any remote amount of common sense. And moreover, I don't need Jason Fields. I prosecuted him. He's going to prison for what he already stole. There's no such thing as making it up and then avoiding the prosecution for it. There's no such thing as that. The entities engaged in this conduct, and Jason Fields remains a part of it. He is monitoring, and they're seeking to block what is the prosecution of the Upland Police Department in Upland, California, who are the ignoramuses, the same homosexual cult members gang stalking in a whole other city under the fake sun. And they're embarrassed through that clear-cut and seamless prosecution that's even on social media. The entities engage in this, and they're doing so while they continuously pose a threat to my life. This is the fake son that's over the OVITT Family Community Library, the cult members of the Ontario Police Department, the cult members of the Ontario Fire Department, the cult members of the Ontario International Airport are maintaining what is an ongoing observation. They're witnessing their own downfall and exposure and demise. Not only are they going to prison and being committed, they're going to go with life-threatening STDs. All right, these are demons that engage in this conduct, and they are doing so while it is the end of that secrecy, and it's also the end of that system altogether. And I want to be clear. Let me make sure I've stated it enough in this video. The entity stalking me by helicopter is doing so in concert with Jason Fields. Jason Fields is not relevant. He's nothing other than a homosexual that has sex for money and status, and he has sex with this grandmother, Tracy Banks, who's not even a legitimate person in my life. She's a kidnapper. She's a serial killer. She's a psychopath. And so is Jason Fields, having sex with her and having sex with every other serial killer in that cult. Okay? And the cult goes by the name of U.S. military. The cult goes by the name of fill in the blank said police department. These are cult members. This is Satanism. And it's criminal activity. It's public corruption. And the people of the state are a bunch of dead zombies. That's why you see them engaged in. They don't look, they don't say anything, they act like nothing's happening. But then at the opposite extreme, they want to run at me with a knife in their arm while Jason Fields is hostile because I'm explaining and describing him accurately. He's a homosexual. His genitalia is numb. It's inflamed. He's infected. And he's desperate. And there is no spell work. And there is no amount of money. And there is no apology. There is no other person
There is no YouTube video that's going to change what has already been decreed. He engaged in targeting me, and you're going to spend time in prison for it. I don't care what information you give up to the federal government, who has not engaged in what is stopping this ongoing criminal system. They haven't stopped anything. The case continues, and it's a case that I have carried on my own, because the federal government wouldn't be doing anything about it in the same way they haven't done anything. They wouldn't be doing anything about it if I did not force them to do so. By this evidence, okay? That's the P.O.C. This is the entity that's gang stalking, and they're engaging at the train activities, audible activity. The entity is engaging in this where the helicopters are stalking and they just walk around with their phones under the fake sun. This is blatant surveillance by the entity. This is the same thing they're doing inside of the libraries. The same thing they're doing on the roads and the highways. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 8:19 a.m. This is the entity that is monitoring online, and they're doing so pursuant to what is specifically evidence that X tried to censor on the internet regarding identifying sex offenders who are monitoring me and then covering up their license plates when they are appropriately identified and documented based on their criminal activity, which X, a third party on the venue of the internet, has no lawful authority to do so. And that is state action. It's not a private company. It's not pursuant to any legitimate community guidelines. It's the same thing on Facebook, where the entity is seeking to block that information, and also the information regarding the Upland Police Department gang stalking me under the fake sun. These demons are humiliated while they're already prosecuted. And this is relevant to Jason Fields, who remains a part of the greater pattern of conduct. He will never be coming around me. I cannot embarrass him any more thoroughly. This is a delusional psychopath who is still monitoring me in the spirit, and who is still monitoring me in relevant position. This is criminal activity he remains a part of. You're not avoiding prison. I don't care what you think. The federal government is not the one that has the evidence to put you away. I do. You're going to prison. This is P.O.C. It is currently 8:20 a.m. All right, this is audible activity of a gang stalker. I've already documented this particular third party who was acting as an entity stalking in a parking lot. Everything that the demons are doing show the demon-possessed Satan himself to be quite pathetic. To not only be engaged in something as ridiculously absurd, but highly, highly criminal and malicious. In fact, it's speaking to what is necessary, that a population is not only corrupt, but that population is severely deranged while they share in the satanic rituals of murdering people together as a community and acting like it's not happening. This is how they sacrifice unto Satan. This is the cult that are the U.S. military, the cult that are law enforcement agencies throughout California. And as I prosecute California, this is what's going on throughout the United States. And it is domestic terrorism, which is the basis to establish federal legislation regarding what the U.S. government itself, right, not coincidentally or ignorantly not having adequate legislation to address domestic terrorism, because it is engaged in domestic terrorism. But this is the precedent being established while prosecuting the U.S. government. This third party is speaking and begging for money in a fake church, and it's her audible activity of gang stalking me. And she is also documented stalking me in the parking lot while I'm walking to Bethel Congregation. She's engaged in surveillance in her vehicle. The fake sun is traveling above my head, and the U.S. military, the same homosexuals, are engaging what is dipping and diving in military jets and in helicopters and planes while she is monitoring in the path. Okay, she's a gang stalker begging for money in what is not even Christ Jesus Church. All right, and she's doing that with a bunch of vagina monitors, sex offenders like herself. This is speaking to the hypocrisy. This is speaking to those that don't know Christ at all. That is not something that is foreign or some sort of anomaly. This is the norm. And these are the same demons that are also taking on form. And by the way, while they're gang stalking me, and I'm using them as an example, not only to prosecute, but to show you that it's been Satan that's been speaking against Christ. It's been Satan that's claiming that they are Christians, and that they are the ones that are also hurting other non-believers, and that's why they don't go to church. The ones that don't go to church are the demons that are gang stalking. The ones that are in the fake church are the ones that are gang stalking. This is Satan's whole system in operation. Okay? And also, you need to be clear and always understand who Christ Jesus is not whoever it is that hurts you. Okay, so because someone claims, and that someone is a demon, claims that, oh, well, I'm a Christian, but, you know, I slipped up and I had sex with this prostitute, but it's all covered by the blood. That is somebody that does not know the Lord God, okay? You're talking about living a life of transgression. And these demons are engaged in criminal monitoring as a way of life in California. No, they do not know Christ. Church is a business, and I'm prosecuting that business. It's a RICO.
And it's terrorism. It's even bigger than what they've imagined. They can't even imagine anything beyond my vagina. These are sex cult members, and they engage in what is putting on what they deem to be appropriate in order to be in front of other people like myself that are unsuspecting. And this is how they target you. Okay, while they are simultaneously calling themselves Christians. So that's the audible activity of another hypocrite, okay? Another charlatan, rather. And this is to inform you about those that want to deter you from Christ. While they say, oh no, it's all fake, that's not the Bible, that's not written by God, you're weak, you're closed-minded, you're ignorant if you are believing what the Bible says. If you walk with Jesus, Jesus isn't God. And I've already been there, done that. I've been to the church, and they don't even believe what they're a whole bunch of hypocrites. Those are demons talking. Those are demons talking, and that's what Satan's system appears as. They're Republicans and Democrats that are all minions together regarding what is a whole colossal joke and what is the massive humiliation ritual that the United States government is maintaining, while they have what was essentially a bunch of propaganda. And you are looking at the Democrats versus the Republicans being on two opposing sides, but actually they're all demons and they are playing the same game. That's what Satan has done regarding trying to emulate, mimic, mock, blaspheme what is Christ Jesus, okay? And this is what the entity is doing. And I'm showing you that while they're gang stalking me, and I'm prosecuting them for it. Do not be deceived, and don't let Satan deter you from the truth of who he is, who Christ Jesus is. He doesn't lie. He never hurts you. And it's not his will that you be subject to that. But you're talking about sin, which is our fault. That's not God's fault. In fact, he made a sacrifice. If you don't want to accept that sacrifice, i.e. Christ Jesus, then that's your decision as well. But what these demons did, not only did they not want to accept the sacrifice, who is Christ Jesus, they thought they were going to sacrifice me, and what they've done is sacrifice themselves. They've also sacrificed their cloak. They're all being exposed. Their HIV status, their homosexuality, their pedophilia, their Satanism, the fact that they're engaged in what is stalking as a whole government system and as a society. The entity that walks around as though they're sane, have all their marbles, they have none of that. Everything that they do concerns me. That's why I'm in California. Everything that they do, every person is engaging in what is some means whereby they are stalking me, and that's the reality, including in this fake church, where the entity is going to be federally prosecuted. So you're going from what is engaging in persecution to being subject to a federal prosecution. You're going to go from feigning and faking it like you love Christ Jesus, and it is Christ Jesus himself that's going to put you in prison. And that is not a joke. And these idiots that they're gang stalking with are following me from that fake church even into the city of Upland and Plains in helicopters. And you know who's going to prison? Pastor Jeanette, this genius who's stalking me with these homosexuals that don't have any self-control, that are immediately triggered and start telling on Jeanette about what she was actually doing in that fake church service that last Sunday. Okay, they're all going to prison, and these idiots can't help each other. They're all acting against each other while they keep stalking me. This is the P.O.C. You need to understand that the entity that attacked me because I already won, running at me with a knife in their hand, flying in circles over me by helicopter, engaging in what is assault with a deadly weapon. Those are the demons of the Bethel Congregational Church. It's one entity. It's the same demon-possessed entity, and it's the same public entity. They're all united under that fake sun. That's the P.O.C. All right. And in a federal case, it is evidence tying all of that together. None of it is compartmentalized. None of it is taking a pause and separate from the rest of it. It's the totality of facts and circumstances, which are seamlessly connected, while their minds are totally discombobulated and fragmented. And all they can do is dip and dive and U-turn and flip in planes where there are clearly no passengers, and you are clearly stalking as demons under a fake sun where you worship my vagina and stalk me on the internet and cry while you can't sleep about how I've already prosecuted you, and you know it. This is the P.O.C. That's the audible activity of a demon that's gang stalking at a fake church begging for money. And she's a documented terrorist.
And across the world. There's no telling what positive actions are possible when we step up as partners working to build up God's realm on earth. Please join God's active community as we share our tithes and offerings.
Prayer for this time that we that we have it, and that we are able to have some memories with him, and that he's stable right now, and also personal prayers of gratitude for the community, for the text messages, of the calls, and the space to be able to be with him a lot. I'm very grateful. So just thank you, and continued prayers for our whole family as we go through this transition.
May God's care surround him and the family members. Okay, my friend.
All right, that is the audible activity of a third party who is engaged in, by virtue of the title, third party. This is all the means of identifying the pattern of conduct. A third party is speaking to the fact that the people of the state, the entity is being identified, a state actor is being identified vicariously acting by speaking, creating audible activity, by being present in order to speak and create audible activity. They are stalking, and they are doing so by virtue of the presence of the engineered environment, which is documented inside a Bethel congregation and also outside under that fake sun. That is Jeanette, who is a fake Christian. She also refers to herself as a pastor. She's not that either. And her license plate, while she is gang stalking me with Amazon Prime, who goes out of its way to engage in a U-turn while I'm walking to that fake church at 536 North Euclid Avenue under that fake sun during the 10 a.m. hour. She is maintaining criminal presence in the path at that venue, and is doing so pursuant to criminal activity and furtherance of murdering a congregant, and not engaging in any sort of conduct, lawful conduct, that a pastor would be associated with. And also she's speaking, referring to herself, a female. This isn't a woman, this is a demon. As a pastor, that's outside of what is the scripture of those that are actually believers who are also not demons, gang stalking. So Jeanette has all manner of contradictions going on, but she's engaging in what is gang stalking by virtue of what you're listening to inside of that fake church, and she's doing so with the U.S. military. The homosexuals that are stalking me at the OVITT Family Community Library, stalking me while the demons are stalking in bathroom stalls, while they are stalking inside of a library where none of them are reading. Demons aren't interested in literacy. That's why their demon-possessed children can't read either. The entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct inside of a fake church as well. The entity is maintaining the illusion regarding society and the concern for business and family life, etc. That's why you have a fake sun over everything, everyone. That is also, they're all ignorant about it as well, right? You notice that pattern? This is their mental illness that is within the pattern that you're identifying. And this includes Bethel Congregational Church at 536 North Euclid Avenue, where Jeanette is a malicious co-conspirator of murder. And her license plate is 9 Edward Zebra Sam 749. And she's acting not as an entity by virtue of what is supported by evidence that she is indeed a third party and is operating outside of any sort of constitutional protection. In fact, she is not an individual. She is the entity that is gang stalking at a facilitating venue, not on private property, pursuant to that criminal pattern of conduct. And she is engaging in that pattern of conduct with knowledge, meaning she's gang stalking while she is monitoring the evidence. In fact, she's keeping my device and my evidence even about her under surveillance, and it as under no circumstances disincentivizes this co-conspirator, this one that is plotted to murder me by virtue of her gang stalking and still gang stalking me, doing so in the highest, most malicious manner, sitting at a church service, okay? It's not a genuine church service. That's what you're getting from that, okay? So like I said, words have meanings. Demons use those words in order to deceive you, okay? A woman that is claiming to be a woman, but she is hiding a penis between her legs is not in fact a woman. That's a man. All right, and demons want to create a whole bunch of confusion around that, and there's nothing confusing about it. This is the illusion that these are the type of illusions that Satan maintains. Now, there's also an illusion that the sun was going to be over me at the OVITT Family Community Library, but that is only going to be something that the demons would conveniently forget, because I'm capturing video at 1:13 p.m. where the demons are. Remember, they're holding their dance recital in front of me under this fake sun. Well, they were doing that during my course of being seated at the side of the OVITT Family Community Library, where you saw the effeminate male dancing with young boys and girls who are all demons pacing around me, while the homosexuals of the U.S. military, with whom Jeanette, who calls herself a pastor at Bethel Congregation, are gang stalking me. And today, right now,
The entity is maintaining that pattern of conduct at Bethel Congregation, and then that fake son is going to remain and leave Bethel Congregation, speaking to a crime scene that Jeanette is a part of and is engaging in and facilitating while she threatens my life. Okay? Jeanette is engaged in criminal activity, and by virtue of her being at that venue, she has no protection. She's on the wrong side of the law, and this is the entity that's being prosecuted for what is public corruption. All right, the entity is maliciously engaging in that and doing so very foolishly with the homosexuals that are twisting and U-turning and stalking and dipping, including in other cities where Jeanette is shown to be doing nothing other than the same exact criminal pattern of conduct by calling herself a pastor, where she is a violent sex offender who is entrusted with minor kids, with whom she's also gang stalking. I just want to be clear on that. Again, her license plate is 9 Edward Zebra Sam 749, and that's the audible activity of a demon inside of a building that the demons just put the word church on. And none of those words mean anything, but what is significant is that she's engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, and I'm going to prosecute her. I'm going to prosecute that corrupt business, Bethel Congregational Church, and I'm going to prosecute all those co-conspirators inside of that building. They're all a bunch of vagina monitors. They're not Christians. This is P.O.C. Currently 1:13 p.m. I just want to catch this time, and I'm going to show you the entity that has the fake sun over me while I'm remaining at the same place where I was where this fake sun was rising this morning. I caught the sun rise, the fake sun rise, meaning the crime scene where the city of Ontario, which is the state of California, is being documented engaged in an ongoing criminal conspiracy to commit murder in the face of and in the presence of all of you witnesses around the world that are watching an American citizen prosecute the U.S. government, which is prosecuting the cult, that is the U.S. military, that are engaging in criminal activity. And it is Satanism as to why. And their satanic practices, is the basis whereby they will be involuntarily committed. What you hear in the background is a prosecution of Union Pacific under that which is a fake sun. They are engaging in what is a public nuisance for a criminal purpose, and that also lets you know that the people of the state are also gang stalking. It is 1:14 p.m. now. And before I go, I want you to see, not only is the fake sun over me at 1:13 p.m., but I want you to see Delta Airlines stalking. You see this right here? This is Delta Airlines that's stalking. 1:10 p.m., that was moments ago. The fake sun is over me. This is 12:51. I capture the images of the state of the the crime scene as the entity follows with the fake sun over me while I come from Bethel Congregational Church, okay? All these demons, they're all stalking. Their kids are stalking. They're all sitting in a church service. You see the stained windows. You see the fake gang stalking pastor. He's really a gang stalker, but he's a fake pastor. He's a psychopath, and he actually hates my guts. He's a demon, and he's engaged in a criminal conspiracy to commit murder. While he is engaging in the state's pattern of conduct, he's engaged in criminal surveillance and furtherance of murder by virtue of systematic surveillance, him and his wife and their kids, at Bethel Congregational Church, where the fake sun is over me as I show you right as I walk outside. And the entity follows me with this fake sun, this same fake sun that is remaining over me. Not only is it over me at this same Bethel Congregational Church at 7:15 in the morning, as I've documented and as is on the record, this is a matter of what is a judicially noticed fact. This is the case that you are building in order to put domestic terrorists in prison. And if they're not natural born citizens, they're being deported, okay? And this is that same Bethel Congregational Church while that fake sun is over me as I'm documenting on June 7th, last Sunday at 5:37 p.m. This is the entity that keeps that fake sun over me. This is the same exact address. This is F Street. This is the entity that is stalking on the roads and the highways, massive surveillance of demons who engage in what is a fully exposed, thanks to the P.O.C., that is Christ Jesus that's exposing Satan. And as Satan is being exposed, it's exposing the government. It's exposing the criminal activity of a population. All right. And this is the entity that's maintaining that environment. You're looking at the fake sun over me at 10 o'clock, which is what I documented today. This is where that entity is gang stalking, following me with this fake sun. I'll just go ahead and show you. Back to what is the location where I was this morning, and this fake sun was over me. So I can show you that as well. The entity that has a fake sun where I am present in the morning, where this entity was gang stalking the entirety of the day. And by the way, where Delta Airlines is gang stalking, Delta Airlines is doing so where there is the maintenance of a, just want to be clear, Delta Airlines at 1 p.m. Flight number DL3172 going to Salt Lake City is not going to be hovering over the Senior Center where I'm at the OVITT Family Community Library. That's not going to that location, and Delta Airlines is engaged in, as a matter of what is a judicially noticed fact, that which has not still at this point miles away from the terminals. Delta Airlines coming out of what would be terminal, this looks like gate 208, terminal 2 perhaps, terminal 2 or terminal 4, terminal 16. None of it is going to be at the Ontario International Airport, and you're looking at that elevation of this plane activity where Delta Airlines has yet to engage in any sort of takeoff. Okay, Delta Airlines is hovering and is stalking me, and doing so under a fake sun that remains over me at this same location where I was present this morning, and I'll show you that evidence right here. So I just want you to see that's the evidence, as a matter of what is science, prosecuting the entity that is gang stalking me, and doing so while I am captured. Alrighty, this is this morning at 8:20 a.m. 8:08 a.m. It ends at 8:20. This is P.O.C. Just want you to see the U.S. military has been engaged in stalking all night long by helicopter upon my return to the OVITT Family Community Library. This were the homosexuals, their rage regarding the video that I put up on the screen recording regarding the entity monitoring on Facebook. The entity engages in retaliatory conduct of that petty nature. What they're doing right now is, while I power off my phone and power it back on, clear out all my cookies, the entity of the fake sun, that's not going to be anywhere in Upland. That's what I want you to see. This is at 8:08 a.m. The entity has this fake sun still, where Delta Airlines is stalking by virtue of not having conducted a takeoff, being miles away from the airport, doing so under a fake sun that remains over me as of 12:51 p.m. I'm starting this video at 1:13 p.m. in order for you to see where the fake sun remains. And it's right here over me at the same location. This is where I stood. The entity stalking by helicopter. I'm capturing the video. I'm walking over here, and this is where the fake sun is at 8:08 in the morning. This is where the fake sun is at what you can see at 1:20 p.m. And this is the same thing that you see yesterday, 24 hours ago. And it's relevant who's around me. The employees of the OVITT Family Community Library who are going to prison, they're engaged in gang stalking. Gang stalking is to commit murder. Those that are at the traffic light, which is a means of stalking in the path on the roads and the highways, those are the same demons that also tell you that that's the case, because they've engaged in what is very heavily documented acts of terrorism, of a sexually violent nature, and of a mentally ill and psychopathic character, stalking with impossible light activity in their same vehicles, okay? The entities engaged in this under the fake sun that's over me yesterday at this time on video at 1:13 p.m. So let's look at that as well. Not only was the necessarily fake sun over me at Upland, in Upland, California, where people of all races and, as you see, ages and size are stalking, and the entity's doing so in an environment that is, once you are aware of the significance that it's not even naturally occurring, this is psychotic. It's a circus environment, and the entity's engaging in this while the fake sun is indeed over me in a whole other city. And it stayed there. It stayed there over me while I arrived to that venue. Remember that? This is the entity that's stalking by helicopter. You know who's going to prison? The demons that are in those helicopters, and the demons that are stalking me while those helicopters are following me and not detracted from the fact that they are stalking. Okay, you know what helicopter activity means? You're stalking. That's what that means. You can keep your back to me. You can look to the opposite direction when you know that you're being documented. It doesn't make the fake sun go away, and it does not make the criminal activity of the mentally ill, of the HIV infected, of the homosexuals, the terrorists, the Satanists, the cult members of the U.S. military. It doesn't make any of that go away at all. Not only is the fake sun over me in Upland, California, it stayed there, and I stayed there documenting it. And this is this on video. That's how I got this on video. This is P.O.C. It is currently Saturday, June 13th, 2026. It is actually 13/13 on the 13th. Pay attention to that. But anyway, this is video documentation regarding what is ongoing evidence pursuant to a comprehensive prosecution of the United States government in this public investigation. Hold on. I want you to witness the entity that's going to be committed. There's the fake sun that's not in Upland. Joy, Adam Tuckerman, Alan, Carissa, Elizabeth, Alyssa, and the other Alyssa. You have the demons that are going to prison for stalking with the military that are engaging in criminal activity. They're engaged in terrorism. And you know why Satan engages in what is terrorism through those that are in the military who take an oath to protect American citizens, not gang stalk them? because that's supposed to be the last people, the last entity, the last ones that you'll ever suspect. Okay, this flies in the face of all of the presuppositions that a corrupt government is relying upon you to fall back on. And the entity's doing this because of the damning evidence that we're going to continue to review now. Okay, that's the entity that's psychotic.
Anyway, this is video documentation regarding what is ongoing evidence pursuant to a comprehensive prosecution of the United States government in this public investigation of the U.S. government that's engaging in criminal surveillance, i.e. federal group stalking and monitoring, which is ordinarily referred to as gang stalking. And it has been the case, and my evidence of the P.O.C. has fully proven, and this is evidence in the same regard, that gang stalking, which is criminal monitoring, not just physically stalking, not just online stalking, but monitoring, which exceeds stalking, which is occurring in a specific environment, is that which is also...
That specific environment is what I am showing you again on
P.O.C.
video. It is the scientific evidence that the sun is in two different places, requiring more than one sun, because that which is over my head in this video, which I will show you, this video that's about the same homosexuals that are stalking me in planes and helicopters are the ones that are engaging in surveillance on the internet, blocking, while they're engaged in criminal surveillance, federal stalking on the venue of the internet, on my device, by the people of the state who are engaged in federal stalking as well, vicariously on behalf of that U.S. government that proves that they're stalking, and they prove that the people of the state are stalking as well. They're doing so while the entity is monitoring my device. That's what you're looking at. Under that fake sun, all manner of criminal activity is exposed.
State who are gang stalking. This is the fake sun that's over me, and
at 1:13 p.m. Okay, this is when this video starts. I have extensive commentary, extensive analysis. This video ends at 2:10 p.m. And this is the state of the fake sun right now, what you see here. So let's look at it together on top of one another. I'd love for you to see the impossible. This federal prosecution is a prosecution of the demon-possessed that engage in what is satanic behaviors. In other words, to the ordinary person that does not understand the malice of the way in which Satan is targeting American citizens, targeting the children of God, doing so in supernatural ways, which is designed to result in what is criminal defamation, falsely depicting your character. And that's where you even attempt to try to describe what the demon-possessed are doing to you, where you try to report that the entity, if you even use that word, that verb, is the ordinary target individual isn't even going to refer to it in that way. They're just going to say straight out what exactly is happening, that they're being stalked in planes and helicopters. And because the U.S. military, because the law enforcement agencies, because the people of the state are engaging in that, they're being prosecuted as what they are. They're terrorists.
The Upland Public Library is a facilitating venue where the fake sun is currently over me right now. They are monitoring, they being the people of the state who are gang stalking. This is the...
And that's the fake sun that is over me in the same manner right now at the same time, okay? So I'll give you a live picture of that again as well. This is the case at 1:13 p.m. and I captured this video at 1:13 p.m. because this is the state of affairs yesterday, 24 hours ago, and it is impossible that the natural environment is engaging in such a grand deviation, okay, regarding what is the sun engaging in what is substantially identical conduct on an ongoing, reliable basis. This is why we have meteorologists, right? Those are demons maintaining the illusion as they refer to the environment and what the environment did 6 years ago on the same day, what the environment did last year on the same day, at this time of year last year. What do we reasonably expect? And we certainly expect the sun to be doing the same thing it was doing yesterday. Oh, and actually it is. It's sitting over me, over my head in two different cities. I can't even see anything on the opposite side of this building right here, let alone would the sun be over me at this same position while I'm at the OVITT Family Community Library where I was present this morning, speaking to duration of time. You're also speaking to two distinct different locations, two different cities. I'm outside in this video and I'm inside of a building in the other one that's in Upland, California, where you know that fake sun also remain. This is where Delta Airlines and the gang stalkers of the commercial airline companies resort to criminal activity, which puts the people of the state and them in prison and in mental institutions. Does it ever stop the documentation? Does it ever stop a criminal case? To the contrary, where the judge is looking at you commit the crime in the courtroom, you can be sure you're getting locked up. That's the entity that's gang stalking, because that's what they're doing in court. They're committing the crimes right now in front of you while they are looking. That's what Jeanette's doing in court. That's what she's doing. That is not a church, it's my courtroom, and she's going to prison. That's impunity, and it's malice, and it's also psychopathic. They're not just going to prison. They're not just being prosecuted as terrorists. They're being committed. All right, that's a judicially noticed fact that there's no takeoffs over here. And it's also a matter of what is a judicially noticed fact that the sun would not be at the same location that it was at 8 o'clock in the morning, and it wouldn't be over the same person as though I run the universe. What this is that the entity is stalking, they're obsessed with me, and they're stalking on the roads and the highways where they're losing driving privileges. They will not be on the roads and the highways anymore. They will not be in the sky space engaging in that, and they are conspicuously engaging in that surveillance. That's light activity by a demon with a dirty, dusty bottom. Okay, that's the entity that's gang stalking right in your face. That is threatening your life right in front of your face. Paul Leon is going to be removed from office. In fact, he's being prosecuted. And the entity is maintaining this fake sun over me in Upland, California yesterday.
Fake sun that's over me and in this venue, this is the entity that's maintaining this environment. This is all engineered light. It's not.
That's what I mean. Not only is it not the sun, that's not sunlight. None of this is sunlight. It's an engineered environment. And everybody that's defaming my character, oh, I'm stealing your property, right? You look up at that fake sun because it's criminal defamation. While demons fail at spell work, you're going to prison for lying on my character while you conspire my murder. You're going to prison for that. They do that in furtherance of kidnapping. And who commits the kidnapping? Oh, the cowboys that are vagina monitors wearing Ontario Police Department uniforms. They're going to prison. They're equally psychotic. They're engaging in that with the people of the state who obsess over genitalia that doesn't belong to them. Stalkers, conspicuously stalking. That's an act of terrorism. While an entity is stalking you conspicuously, they're not even hiding that they're stalking. Okay? The entity's engaging in this P.O.C. while they're stalking in planes, while they're stalking in helicopters. And you remember everything and every lie told on my character because Tracy Banks is going to be committed for it. Jason Isaac Fields is going to prison. And this is worthy of what is being committed for it. Regardless of any sort of information he's handed over to the federal government. He remains a terrorist. He remains a threat. I remain subject to that system. They're still stalking. This has not been any sort of remedy, any sort of resolution. The entity has plotted my murder, has lied about me being dead already, has produced fake death certificates. Why do you think they're using commercial airline planes and stalking in a manner that's supposed to be so unbelievable that you would never believe it? It's so unbelievable because the entity that already lied about me being dead is engaging in what is trying to defame my character. Don't believe me, don't listen to me, write me off. But this is the entity that's maintained an ongoing history of lying about who I am and who they are to me, i.e. kidnappers, sex offenders, stalkers. All right, they're engaging in fraud, identity theft, plotting on money that belongs to me. And these demons know about my money that belongs to me while they're gang stalking with me. And under the law, that's how they're going to be treated as well. They're gang stalking for a criminal purpose, a corporate purpose, for the same criminal objective. All right, and it goes back to the demons that are sitting in a fake church begging for money. This is the pattern of conduct. I wanted to show you that it's 1:13 p.m. and you already know that the fake sun stays right here over me. In fact, when fake Christians are frustrated and they engage in violence, which I document to put them in prison, because that's the U.S. military engaging in a battery while they're conspiring your murder and defaming your character and repeatedly kidnapping you while they're stalking you ceaselessly. That's the entity doing so under the malicious guise of maintaining a fake church. And then I come here after 5 p.m. I'm referring to what is Thursday after 5 p.m. And the entity has a fake sun merely over here. That's where they're stalking. And everybody inside of OVITT Family Community Library, just like everybody at the Upland Public Library, these employees are going to prison. And this is how you prosecute domestic terrorism, which is happening amongst millions of people. So therefore, you will absolutely have what are hundreds of people who are going to prison. And that's insufficient, by the way, but that is absolutely justice. Absolutely justice. They're going to everybody that works here, including Sean Thrasher, including the gang stalkers of the Ontario Police Department. They're going to prison for targeting me with this venue. And they're doing so as a matter of what is scientific evidence. It doesn't matter how much you lie on the character of the target individual, you're going to prison. You're ending up in prison whether you speak or whether you're idiotic enough to say something, because you're going to prison. That's the pattern of conduct. That's the significance of maintaining what is a scientific impossibility, something NASA itself cannot address, because you'll be laughing at them. They're clowns. They're a joke. And you know what climate control is? Climate control is real. Climate control is the maintenance of this environment through what is the totally engineered environment. That's how they're controlling the climate. It is no, it is no product of what is the natural environment. It's as fake as the fake sun. Okay? It's cold when the fake sun is covered up. It's hot when the fake sun is blazing. It's hot in Florida where they are necessarily maintaining the same pattern of conduct because there's only one sun, and that's how they're controlling the climate. And they are controlling propaganda on venues such as Facebook and YouTube. who want to try to censor that which they have no legitimate interest, as proven to be state actors and not private actors, facilitating this surveillance system, conditioning the mindset, spreading, disseminating propaganda pursuant to the surveillance that they are engaging in and they are literally paid to maintain. That's why my evidence is being blocked on Facebook, by the way. And I'm going to prosecute. I'm going to prosecute. In fact, this is the prosecution. While the entity is stalking me by planes and helicopters, the entity removing my evidence regarding gang stalking at Alvarado Gardens, for example, and you are concealing the identities of terrorists. You're threatening my life while you're doing that, and you have no right under the law to do so, and you don't ignorantly do that either, okay? You're doing that very maliciously, where, first of all, you're engaged in surveillance, which is proven. The entity that's gang stalking me is engaging in surveillance, and you're serving that system, and you're protecting the terrorist and endangering me. You're going to be federally prosecuted for that. You're going to pay me, and you're also subject to what are criminal charges. This is how that pattern of conduct that is very much underway via communication devices on the internet, evident through the environment, is going to reach onto what is the facilitating venue of the internet. That's the P.O.C. And the entity is engaged in what is monitoring online, and the video documentation, all the evidence of not only the entity gang stalking and seeking to block evidence on Facebook, it's published on Facebook, and so is the evidence that the entity sought to block me from publishing on. So while the entity was blocking my posts, I document every time I'm blocked, and I also, that's evidence. And I'm keeping a record of it because I'm going to be compensated for this. And this is establishing precedent because these are all the ways in which the government targets you. And all the third parties, all the people of the state, all the companies, all right, all the departments, all of that community, they are engaging, conspiring against you, and that is not within your imagination. That is nothing that you're imagining. All right, it is absolutely proven, and this is what they do against the ordinary target individual that cannot articulate it, that can't fathom it, that can't understand it. They can't even get past the stalking by the helicopter. They can't get past that, and that's the design of that system. That is terrorism and psychological torture for which you're going to prison, and hundreds of people are going to prison behind targeting Erica Spencer, who never died, who is alive and well, and Tracy Banks is going to prison for it. You can't blame her. You're going to prison for conspiring with my fake mother. If you think that that's a defense, it is not. It's an admission. P.O.C. It is currently 1:36 p.m. at OVITT Family Community Library. P.O.C. Here's the P.O.C. right here, and it's under the fake sun. Michael GERKEN engaging in what is stalking while I am calling out those that are providing unsolicited testimony in an ongoing case that is being exposed online because it's the U.S. government that's engaging in criminal activity, which would ordinarily be criminal conduct that is unconstitutional, unlawful, and unfair in their gang stalking courtrooms. And so this is the entity that is targeting, and this is the prosecution of that in front of the world that as witnesses under the remaining. And this is relevant to the gang stalkers who are engaging in surveillance on the internet, where they are also gang stalking in relevant position. They're engaged in monitoring it. That's the same entity, the vagina monitors of the Ontario Police, of the Ontario Police Department, of the city of Upland, the gang stalkers themselves. All they do is hop on the internet and go out of their way in doing so. And while I address what are stalkers that are on my Facebook page, where they have not, first of all, they're disqualified. You can't even add anything intelligent to the discourse, which is a matter of scientific evidence. It's not up for debate. Neither is there any reasonable question that I am being actually targeted, which the American people are subject to surveillance as well, while they go into bathrooms in the same way that they sit around stalking under a fake sun, sex offenders and stalkers with no life and purpose. They are absolutely raging psychopaths who are on the internet making totally irrelevant and illogical and unreasonable comments that do not address facts. The entities engaging in that, and I want to be clear, it is a teachable moment because you are exposing yourself to a federal prosecution. You are not exercising a First Amendment freedom regarding speech on the venue of the internet, where surveillance is underway by the U.S. government that is simultaneously targeting an American citizen, including in real time, while they are even addressing it or are subject to it or come across it. You will expose yourself to a federal prosecution. Moreover, it's the very vagina monitors themselves who are stalking and then hop on the internet, where they are finding your page and finding your YouTube channel that has barely 200 followers and no one that is subscribed to it. It's the same demons. Moreover, the principle of the matter is you will be federally prosecuted as you speak as the entity, so you better watch your mouth. This is the P.O.C. That's the entity that's engaging in what is entirely irrelevant, and that's exactly what it would be in a courtroom, where you are engaging what is adding information that the judge didn't ask you for. You're not included in the case, and you really don't want any of that smoke. So mind your business and pay attention to the prosecution that everybody else is learning from. This is the P.O.C. The entity's engaging in targeting online, and they're targeting a relevant position where Amazon Prime and every other multi-million-dollar business and departments of the government are very much concerned about my vagina. And that's not a matter of being a compliment. It's a matter of what is documentation of terrorism. All right, and it's the ignorant, sex offenders themselves that are the only ones speaking about what is unreasonable. It's not a matter for debate. It's a matter of scientific evidence. Laughing about it, looking to the left and the right, acting like the evidence isn't there, does not make it any less evident. And you will only be engaging in what is teaching the masses about the behaviors of the psychopaths that are gang stalking comprehensively. This is P.O.C. It is currently 5:07 p.m. This is where the fake sun was at 8 o'clock in the morning. And then I want you to look at the two demons that are on my Facebook page regarding what is absolutely going to be disregarded and what is evidence against that entity that's engaging in surveillance on the internet. You're scared of my evidence. You're monitoring me, and you're also stalking me in bathrooms, and then you try to get online and make absolutely absurd comments that are not even getting on the point. You can't address facts. The fact is, you're going to be prosecuted. So I suggest you understand this. The point is, watch your mouth on the internet, because the courtroom is there as well. This is P.O.C. All right, it is currently 6:45 p.m. and I remain at the same location present this morning at 8 o'clock, which is a matter of video evidence, not a matter of hearsay, not a matter of, even my previously documented evidence. It's a pattern of conduct and it's relevant to the environment. So I can absolutely, and that's what I do, I can use the sunrise documented in 2024 on this same day. I can use the sunset from last night. I can use my evidence that I captured last week at the same place, at a different place at the same time, when I'm showing you juxtaposing evidence regarding what is absolutely not the natural environment. And where the fake sun, by definition, necessarily scientific evidence that the sun would not be at the same address, 215 E.C. Street. And don't forget that Paul Leon, the Ontario City Hall, is right here. It's legally relevant where I'm at because it's letting you know about what the government is. And the government are filled with a bunch of cult members, all right? And they're stalkers and they're psychotic, because this is no ordinary stalking. The evidence of the fake sun, which is at 6:45 p.m., still at the same address that it was during the 8 a.m. Hour where the entity was stalking me, and by definition, judicially noticed fact, there is no reasonable question. This is beyond what is the prima facie case, where federal courts are going to provide justice to American citizens who are kept under surveillance by the U.S. military, who are engaging in terrorism with the people of the state. This is a federal offense for which the American people will recover. All right, it's criminal activity creation, it's criminal presence in the path, and they're doing with those that are over and under majority, and they are trained to engage in this is psychopathic. Okay, and it's supposed to present the illusion that someone else, the target individual that doesn't have evidence, is hallucinating, is paranoid, is bipolar, whatever, all of these means of defaming. You can all see that this is absolutely abnormal, and it's absolutely it's very real. You're not imagining it at all. That's Union Pacific that was on video earlier today. Union Pacific is getting all of that prosecution. That's what they're manifesting it, and you've got it. It's going to be prosecuted. And the people of the state are being prosecuted. That's how you know they're all stalking and monitoring while you hear impossible audible activity. And it's also impossible where the entity is, by definition, by judicially noticed facts, that the sun is not at one address. Let's count together. 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was 10 hours ago during the 8 a.m. hour. This is where the entity was stalking me in particular. Not only because they stalked me so heavily in helicopters, i.e. traditional stalking, is supported by my evidence. The entity is engaged in criminal monitoring, meaning psychologically torturing me and physically stalking me as an entity. Everybody else is stalking as well as an entity in this environment that defies science, logic, common sense and nature. All right. The entity is keeping this fake sun where they are stalking me in helicopters, and they're doing so also pursuant to my evidence that I published, pursuant to a First Amendment right, freedom of speech, and also what is an obligation to prosecute the government that has conspired my murder, and also facilitating that criminal act amongst a population who are the people of the state, and also engaging in that which is a matter of public corruption that is serving the public good in order to expose it. Under all of those, and what is regarding sound public policy. No American citizen is violating the law when you are exposing the criminal, who always remains the government. You will never be able to ricochet that and boomerang that and try to deflect away from the criminal activity, the original criminal, the original wrongdoer, which is the state, the entity, the U.S. military, who are demons. And by the way, their secrets are they're homosexuals. This is engineer light, not sunlight. And the fake sun is over me right now in Upland, California, where they are stalking. Psychopathic pacing is what you're looking at regarding what is the prosecution of Cable Airport, what is the prosecution of the Ontario International Airport, where in 2 cities again, at the same time, for the duration of the day, my documentation is showing that this is an untenable position. And you know what else is untenable? That they're driving by, riding by, flying by, living by you, being around you, sitting around you, and that they don't know what's going on. That's also untenable. The entity will be prosecuted as a corrupt entity, even in their silence. They will be prosecuted on a strict liability basis. They are sharing in the criminal activity of the government, and where you live, regardless of your ever having a conversation with the proven targeted individual, it will be a means of prosecuting you specifically. Moreover, I just want to be clear, there are no victims here. These demons thought they had the perfect crime underway, all right, and they derived pleasure out of it. So now they are very much troubled. All right, the conundrum that there is no defense under the Constitution by merely claiming that you don't know the target individual. This is called a backfire. All right, and it is fully constitutional to prosecute the people of the state for the government's criminal pattern of conduct that they are not accidentally nor ignorantly sharing in. They are an entity, meaning they're faceless. So while a little boy that you don't know is crossing paths while I'm outside of your home under that fake sun, and I am being monitored by the U.S. military via you are engaging in that pattern of conduct. And while you have that on an ongoing basis, ceaselessly, there is no coincidence there. There is no coincidence. There's no ignorance there either. The gang stalkers are knowingly and intentionally gang stalking you. It is impossible that it would be anything other than that being the case. All right, this is P.O.C. This is relevant to the prosecution of the city of Ontario and the city of Upland. You know what that is? That's the state of California that's engaged in the criminal pattern of conduct. There was no sun in a natural environment, that is, in Florida, in any other state, let alone in any other county, let alone in any other location. Now, I did document as I walked to these fake churches today, that fake sun, but you're looking at the radius. You can look at Google Maps. I did not go beyond a mile today. I went to St. George Catholic Church. I went to Bethel Congregational, and I came right back to the library where the fake sun remained. And that is evidence of a fake sun speaking to an entity that is stalking me. And they do so in helicopters. And the entity that does that, in concert with the people of the state that do that, shall be criminally committed. Recall my video evidence that you saw this morning during the 8 a.m. hour, and you saw, just like you see in this video, very nonchalantly, with regard to expressing to the federal government, while you levy war in the United States, because that's what that is, levying war as an entity, as though there are no consequences. You saw a fat male do the same thing on his device, walk right by, engaging in this act of terrorism, because that was the P.O.C. That you're looking at that same pattern over and over again, and they are under what is the supernatural phenomenon. This is not in Upland, California, and it never went anywhere. This is not in another state. It's not in Los Angeles, and it's also under anything other than the prosecution of the entity. That's Upland, California gang stalking. That's everybody working in that library that's going to prison. That's the entity gang stalking as employees at OVITT Family Community Library. That's everybody at Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles who's going to prison. That's the entity that's engaging in the P.O.C. committing kidnappings. They're acting as one. They are not individuals with regard to the government's P.O.C. And that is where they have volunteered themselves for what is criminal activity that I unilaterally, through this evidence, have also accumulated. While they engage in that very conduct, that's the entity, not an individual. And that entity is engaging in criminal activity. This is the P.O.C. It is currently 6:52 p.m. at what is 15 East C Street, the same OVITT Family Community Library. And this is the prosecution. I have a body of evidence that extends years. But this is the prosecution based on what is evidence that you could use in one day to establish the P.O.C. But of course, I had to do that to establish that this is a real thing, that there's no exception, there's no anomaly here, it's no oversight. And the entity also being the government fully intends to defame a target individual. My evidence is overwhelming. So there is no defamation that's going to be louder or superseding the P.O.C. And the entity that engaged in criminal defamation is the one that's being committed and is going to prison. This is P.O.C. Just so that you can see, this is the entity that is monitoring as I'm uploading the video. This is the suicidal, homosexual, HIV infected entity that defame my character, and you are looking at them demonstrate how psychotic they are. This is the evidence of mental illness while you are stalking, and you're stalking in this manner, spending this amount of money, doing so while it is on camera, and you are reasonably expected to be on camera. There is no mystery here regarding the entity that is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and they're doing so in what is a highly deranged manner. They're doing so as demons under the fake sun. They're doing so while I'm uploading my evidence right now on the video of the internet. That demon with the white shirt on, he's engaging in surveillance. He was, through the last video, engaging in surveillance, and this is the entity that's demonstrating their mental illness in the ways in which they're stalking. Doing so in planes and in helicopters, doing so monitoring what I'm doing on my phone. This is also psychologically harmful. While that, what you are doing, and also what you're doing on your device, also pertaining to your privacy, your genitalia in a private space, in your home, in the bathroom, wherever it is that you are, and the entities engaging in that pattern of conduct, they are sexually and also they are in a sexual manner as well, psychologically harming you, tormenting you, torturing you while they are stalking. Doing backflips and U-turns in planes is putting these cult members of the U.S. military in mental institutions, and that is what is just. They have already conceded that their pattern of conduct is mentally ill while they falsely depict the character of the target individual based on what they are actually doing, and they presuppose that no one would know about it. They are being committed. That's justice. This is P.O.C. Just wanted you to see that they are very much indeed stalking. P.O.C. It's currently, by the way, 6:56 p.m. This is Ontario Town Square Townhomes, where the Ontario Fire Department is gang stalking. And this is UPS that not only does not maintain any sort of destination by hovering another residential area. This is the Ontario Fire Department that is gang stalking as well. That's what you need to understand while the entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct. It's a pattern of conduct that Michael GERKEN shares in with the U.S. military that are currently surrounding me in the sky space right now. And the Ontario Fire Department, that is Michael GERKEN, who's being federally prosecuted, while at the venue of the fire department, the impossible light activity surrounds me. And so does the military stalking by engaging in what is a public nuisance, hovering over what is Ontario Town Square Townhomes, and the people of the state engaging in surveillance, and it's also on the roads and the highways where terrorists will not be permitted to be driving with a California license. This is the entity that is indeed gang stalking, and doing so while the entity flies over the apartment. What do you think they're doing? With light activity at that apartment while my shadow is in front of me. That's a stalker. You recall my previous video where the African-American female with minor children is engaged in stalking me by aiming that light on my person as I walk around the corner. Those are the demons that are tracking my steps, stalking just like this, where you're going to be federally prosecuted, not providing any sort of defense in federal court for domestic terrorism with the military and with the fire department. Okay? This is the pattern of conduct where the entity's main fake son, never being over the fire department, it's remaining over the library all day long. They're in relevant position. It's the P.O.C. So let me give you the sex offender's license plate. This is mental illness. It's called stalking with light. 9XJC554, that's psychopathic pacing. And this is the entity that is stalking as a population. The entity already took pictures of them stalking me on the roads and the highways. And this is the same psychopathic conduct. 9RED163 drives off as I walk toward them. It's perfectly comfortable stalking someone, engaging in that ominous stalking. Remember, it's also psychological torture. And they're being prosecuted. And they are the entity. This is the prosecution of Ontario Town Square Townhomes, a gang stalking community where all of the residents are gang stalking. That's the corporate actor. That's why the military is comfortably hovering over that apartment complex. They're being prosecuted. That's impossible light. Well, guess who's inside? The gang stalkers of the Ontario Fire Department. All right, these are demons, and this is funding nothing other than terrorism. They're being paid paychecks, given paychecks to maintain the U.S. government's pattern of conduct. And this is the basis of defunding. There will be no more paychecks for terrorists. There will be no fire department. They're engaged in surveillance. They don't have any emergencies. These losers set fires, and then they go tape themselves and put themselves on the news putting them out. And when are they doing so? They're doing so under the fake sun. Simultaneously, while I've been maintaining a body of evidence, while they're putting out the fires and claiming that it's because of the climate, I'm showing you documentation that simultaneously coexists with the fake sun sitting idle over me. And then you're looking at what Gavin Newsom is requesting from the federal government on an annual basis when they're nothing other than vagina monitors. It's nothing other than a means of surveillance in the city. That's what fire departments are for. They're gang stalkers. They're engaged in, they're stalkers in fire trucks. A lot of money. And they share in that with the whole population. These are all demons. And they wear uniforms and call themselves firefighters. That's the only difference. Just put the fire truck there. They're engaged in the same psychopathic pacing and stalking. And it's a waste of money. Money that's going to be used to compensate the targeted individual who has a right to not be subject to terrorism, perhaps in sex offenders, terrorists like Michael GERKEN. That's the entity that's prosecuting the people of the state, prosecuting the government, the City of Ontario, the Ontario Civic Center, where there are no planes. And that's a matter of what is judicial notice. And by the way, the entity had the fake sun this morning until after 6 p.m. right here at this same Civic Center, speaking to everybody in relevant position. They're gang stalking. That's P.O.C. And these are obsessed stalkers that just engaged in monitoring my vagina in the bathroom of Wendy's restaurant. All right, that's the P.O.C. It's currently 8:41 p.m. where an entire apartment complex shares in the pattern of conduct. This is Alvarado Gardens in L.A. And everybody that works for speaker companies that hired me in order to murder me while the military was stalking me by planes and helicopters in L.A. under the fake sun, they're going to prison while you see the same pattern of conduct underway in Ontario, California at Ontario Town Square Townhomes. All right, that's the P.O.C. It is currently 8:41 p.m. This is called crossing path, and it's criminal conduct, federal stalking with the fire department. That's a hostile lesbian, 9DTA495, and they're angry because their vagina monitoring is being exposed as what it is. It's homosexual predatory conduct in a bathroom. You're psychotic and you're a pervert. That's what the demons are. Keeping your genitalia under surveillance. And then they want to call themselves fire departments. They're not fire departments. This is surveillance. They're stalkers. Paid stalkers. All paid stalkers are being publicly removed from office, from position. This is P.O.C.